Point to the logo on my chest and tell them, Slendy, ego, Slendy, ego, Slendy, ego, Slendy, hey. Hit it up hard, hit it with a strike. From the national anthem to the bottom of the night. I'm in Slendy, ego, Slendy, ego, Slendy, ego, Slendy, hey. You already know what's up. What's that? Another home run. You should know the job ain't done till we hold that trophy up. Hey.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Talking Friars here on an evening where I'm kind of in shock, but not really. Should we really be surprised by this news? The Seidler family are exploring a sale of the San Diego Padres that was put out today by Kevin Acee. There was a statement provided to Padres fans via email by John Seidler. John Seidler is someone that doesn't speak to the media very much. I think he's spoken one time, and he did an in-game sit down with Don and Mud on television. He may have gone to the radio booth as well, but I wasn't listening to that. I was just watching the game, so I did see the Don and Mud convo, and that's what we've heard. He was at the press conference where the Padres introduced Craig Stammen, but he did not do a side scrum like Eric Rootner did, like AJ Preller did, like Craig Stammen did. So we just haven't heard from him. And obviously there's been the question of when is AJ Preller going to get extended and what's the holdup? What's happening there? Well, maybe this helps explain it, is that the freaking ownership situation is up in the air and we don't know who's going to be the owner of the San Diego Padres, a couple years from now. So, I mean, I don't want to really start with AJ Preller, but there's just so many questions from what happened today and the news of today. And one of those obviously is AJ. And what is his future? Like, even if he gets an extension, is it going to be for 3 years? Is it going to line up with Craig? Is it going to be a 1-year extension so that this new owner doesn't have AJ locked down for that long if he wants to bring somebody else in? What's the payroll going to look like this year? Because the Padres can tell us all they want one thing, but they lie. They lie to us all the time. It's not like they have to tell the truth. They lie to us all the time. Eric Rootner lies. So, what are we to believe about what's going to happen this season with the team, with payroll, how committed they're going to be? Because they can say it. Of course, they're going to say they're committed. What are they going to say? We're not committed to helping the franchise win this year. No, of course they're going to say they're committed. So it's irritating, but I'm also feeling like maybe this is the right thing because they're in $300 million of debt. And then there's also a couple instances where they borrowed a bunch of, millions of dollars and they got to pay that back as well. So it makes the new owner that's coming in, it makes that asset not as attractive. And the more money that the Padres spend on the payroll coming in and the contracts that aren't just 1-year contracts, but contracts that are long-term, that the Padres commit this offseason, and then there's contracts that are already on the books, it makes it less attractive to whoever's coming in. So are the Padres going to give out long-term contracts, like 4-year deals this offseason? Or is it going to be a bunch of 1-year things? And if you want the best players, they're not going to be signing 1-year deals. So is this going to be a situation where it's going to have to be a lot of trades? And AJ Preller obviously believes in his ability to rebuild the farm system, and he has strong prospects always. But how do other teams view that? How do other teams view those prospects? So, I'm just kind of blurting out my thoughts here. I'm not really going in like a certain order. I don't have notes prepared on this. I'm just going through my thoughts here. I think it's right to just start off with the letter because there's something obvious here that's not in this letter that obviously wasn't going to be in the letter, but there's something that sticks out to me that's not in this letter. And so I'm going to read this here. This was from John Seidler, sent to Padres fans this morning. To our faithful fans, I want to share with you that the family has decided to begin a process of evaluating our future with the Padres, including a potential sale of the franchise. I'll pause there. Potential sale. So it could be sold, could not be sold. But when you're writing a letter saying that you're potentially selling the team, you're trying to sell the team. you want a certain number, but you're trying to sell the team. And you could back out. The Twins owner, I believe, backed out. But you would think that when you're in $300 million of debt, like, and then there's more on top of that, when you really think about it, like, you're probably trying to get out of it. We will undertake this process with integrity and professionalism in a way that honors Peter's legacy and love for the Padres and lays the foundation for the franchise's long-term success. During the process and as we prepare for the 2026 season, the Padres will continue to focus on putting every resource into winning a World Series championship. We remain fully committed to you, this team, and the San Diego community. All right, let's stop right there before continuing to read. Can they stop saying honoring Peter's legacy? Because Peter would never want this team sold to somebody else. He would want that family, his family, to not treat this like a business. And I know that there's debt and there's serious stuff that I don't really know a ton about because I'm just a fan. But Peter's legacy would be staying in the organization, to have the Seidler name continue to be in the organization. And maybe that's what ends up happening. Maybe Peter Seidler, his family, John Seidler and Seidler family, maybe they sell it and a majority owner takes over, but the Seidlers still have a stake in the team, so that they're still in the team, you know? But when you hand over control to the majority owner, as Mark Cuban learned with the Mavs, like, it's not your team. You know? Like, you're agreeing to give it over to someone. Majority means they get the final decision. It's their team. So honoring Peter's legacy, selling the team less than a year. That's another thing that's interesting is, and I tweeted this out, this family are the same people that thought that Sheil Seidler wasn't fit to run this team. And less than a year later, they're the ones that are trying to get out of it, to not run the team. They're trying to not run the team. So it's like, all right, guys, interesting. And we knew that it wasn't Peter that's coming in. Like, they look at it more as a business. And we may not get another Peter Seidler in our lifetimes, because it was an interesting situation, and a unique situation is probably a better word for that. It was someone that probably knew that their time here was limited, and they did not care about money. They were trying to win. And whatever they had to deal with, or whoever had to deal with something after that, who cares? The city deserves a championship, and he tried his best to do that and give AJ, the player, everything, the resources to go do that. And unfortunately, it didn't happen, but he can't totally control that, right? So the whole Peter's legacy thing, I'm just not a big fan of them continuing to talk about that, because how much are you honoring his legacy? And you're fully committed when you're trying to sell the team? How am I supposed to buy that? That you're fully committed to us, the team, the community. You're fully committed while you're trying to sell the team. See how those two things just don't really connect? The letter continues, we're also committed to finding a new steward for the franchise who shares Peter's vision, which is great. Like, I'm fine with that. Yeah, cool. Continue to field a consistently competitive team and win a World Series championship for San Diego. We have every expectation that the new owner will build on the momentum we have built together and operate the franchise and ballpark in a first-class manner, the way our current leadership team does. I want to thank you for your faithful support of the Padres. We are fortunate and grateful to have such amazing fans. Yeah, you are. You are fortunate. We have every expectation that the new owner will. Yeah, when you're saying that, like, you're trying to get out of this. We have every expectation the new owner will build on the momentum. Like, you're saying there's going to be a new owner. So don't think of this as maybe they're not going to sell it. No, they're going to sell it. And can they stop mentioning operate the ballpark in a first-class manner? The ballpark. Maybe there's some fans that care about the ballpark. That's an add-on. The thousands of fans that follow me on social media, the thousands of fans that listen to sports talk radio, the thousands and thousands of fans that watch the games, go to games, they're season ticket holders. They're not going because it's Petco Park. They're going because they want to see the Padres win baseball games. So how about let's keep that the focus? And if Eric Grutner was the one that came in and edited this and mentioned the ballpark, first class, and I'm just tired of hearing about the ballpark, you know? And maybe someone, with a terrible ballpark, a fan, the Tampa Bay Rays or something like that, would be like, you should come be a Tampa Bay Rays fan, and then maybe you'll be appreciative of your ball. I'm appreciative of the ballpark, but I'm tired of hearing about how great the ballpark is. I care about winning baseball games. So let's keep that the focus. We get it. The ballpark's great. But yeah, the one thing that is missing here is an explanation. Why are you selling the team? Why are you doing something that Peter Seidler would never do? Why are you doing it? And I know the answer, like that much debt that they're in. And if you're trying to, live up to this, it's going to involve you spending money and being committed financially. And clearly this family isn't in the spot to do that. Is it because they just don't have the money? Yep. I think that's the answer. But like, there's no explanation. There's no honesty about like, yeah, we just can't do it anymore. It's just like, no, we're going to potential sale of this franchise, and we're going to have this new owner be someone that has Peter's vision. But like, let's explain to your fan base what's happening here. And I know that's not going to happen, but like, there's no explanation. It's just like, this is what's happening, and we're committed, and blah, blah, blah. And it's from a letter from a guy that we don't hear of. Like, the guy doesn't talk to us. He doesn't talk to the fan base. So it's kind of empty of a letter. But again, like, this could end up being a good thing, where the Padres, they sell this team to a billionaire who comes in, and I hope that this person has San Diego ties. I want this person to come in and care about it as much as we do, as much as I do. It's probably not going to happen, though. Like Peter was one of one. I hope that like Sheil would be, even if it's a very small stake, I hope that she, or maybe it's a position with the team as a special assistant to AJ, like something where she gets to stay involved with the organization and the rest of the family can go. Because to me, it seems pretty obvious. There's two sides to this, and one of it is Sheil, and the other side is the family that tried to keep her out of this, and the family that is trying to sell the team less than a year after saying that Sheil wasn't fit to run the team and pretty much calling her a liar. And from actions, it's a family. That side of the family is running this like a business, not like how we would like to. I know it is a business, but like, there's a difference between, yeah, it's a business, but it's also a baseball team, so we need to try to win. There's a difference there. And from some of the things, like, we can point to these things. We could point to the trade deadline where they didn't have money to, AJ Preller wasn't given money to spend. And so he goes and trades Leo DeVry because he's trying to upgrade the roster to win now. That's just one scenario there. Michael King, Dylan Cease. Is there going to be any effort to bring those guys back? Are they going to be able to bring back Ryan O'Hearn? Like, after this news, Michael King is out the window because that's a long-term contract. They're not going to sign guys to long-term contracts. I just don't see that happening. Because it goes back to this family looking at it from a business perspective. That this asset's going to be less appealing if we sign someone to a long-term contract, because that's more money that this owner is going to have to pay to employees of this organization, which players are employees. More money that this owner is going to have to pay on top of paying us to get the team. So it makes it less appealing. And this is another player that this owner maybe didn't want, but he has to pay. So, yeah, just a lot of questions here. I'll get into the Kevin Acee article here. The Seidler family's stewardship of the Padres appears headed to a close. I'm just going to go through some notes here because I already read the statement. The Seidler family has retained the financial firm BTD and MSD Partners to guide it through the process. No idea what the heck that means, but there you go. Let's see. The Padres ownership group includes at least 10 people or entities. Largest stake, around 24%, is held by the Peter Seidler Trust, of which Sheil Seidler and their 3 young children are the beneficiaries. The Seidler family, including Peter's mother, siblings, and other relatives, collectively controls about 20% of the team. The remaining portion of the ownership is split between 8 to 10 other separate stakeholders. Eric Grutner, by the way, has a stake in the team. Let's remember that. Let's see. The sale of the Padres would include the assumption of about $300 million in debt and more than $150 million in paybacks to owners for 2 cash infusions made in recent years. So that's the thing. How much are the Padres going to sell this team for? But then the price probably is going to be lower because this owner is coming in and they're going to have to pay off this debt. I mean, because you'd think that they want to pay it off immediately upon coming in. Or that will be part of the sale, is that the debt will be paid off. And so the Seidlers will get less money, in this deal. The person familiar with the Seidlers' intentions who spoke on the condition of anonymity, sorry, I'm totally messing up that word. You get it. Because the family did not want to speak publicly beyond John Seidler's statement, said that ownership plans to conduct business as usual without disruption to the team in 2026. You can say that, but Eric Grutner has a stake in this team, and he's the CEO, and this is the same guy in February that said the team will not be sold. And things can change in 9 months. But he was pretty, blunt. Yep, not going to be sold, not going to be relocated, and now the team's going to be sold. $2026 payroll will remain in the same neighborhood as last season. Padres ranked 6th in payroll obligations after CBT penalties and bonuses. Also expected, the Padres leadership will remain in place through any sale. Well, yeah, because the new owner coming in isn't immediately going to bring someone new in to run the team. Because you probably want to get settled a little bit. Eric Grutner's contract, which initially was due to expire at the same time as Preller's, was extended last year through at least 2029. Grutner also received a small stake in the team. So that's something. If AJ gets an extension and it's not through 2029, what does that say? If they're going to line it up with Stammen, okay, that's one thing too. But Grutner, I can't get over, Grutner has a small stake in the team. They're not going to be relocated. I don't even want to get into that discussion. That's not going to happen. Rob Manfred said in a statement, the Seidlers have been great stewards for the Padres, fielding amazing teams and building a loyal fan base that makes the atmosphere at Petco electric. I am certain that John Seidler will select a new owner who will continue the Padres' winning tradition in San Diego. All I know is I need someone to come in here, this new owner. I need this person to hopefully be a Padres fan already. Hopefully they're a San Diegan. I just want them to care as much as we do. And, you look at Mark Cuban's name gets thrown out there. Steve Ballmer gets thrown out there because how much money he has, Southern California. And they care, the owners that care as much as we do, they probably get their hands in there a little bit too much in some people's eyes. But at least there's the care factor there. Because Peter put his hands in there. And if you listen to certain people, they'll say that there were certain signings that were more Peter than AJ. But I'd rather have that, because it's not like those Peter signings, those guys aren't talented baseball players. They are. So I'd rather have that than have someone that's looking at it as, oh, it's a business. And let's put a competitive team, because that's a big word that they love to use. Let's put a competitive team on the field and then essentially see what happens. Let's not do our best to put the team in a World Series spot on paper. AJ's doing that, obviously, with the resources that he has. But I'm talking about ownership. Let's just get a competitive team out there. And then we can say, hey, it's a competitive team, and, whatever happens, happens. I want someone to come in here and, having the Peter Seidler expectation is probably too much. But have someone that has the cash, has that money, big pockets, deep pockets, and they care about winning a championship for a city that's never done it before. Even if they're not going to be from San Diego, at least appreciate the history of the organization, appreciate what Peter Seidler did for this organization and his mindset as the owner of the team. And hopefully this guy has deep enough pockets where the debt thing won't be, hopefully that will be cleared up when this person comes in. But have the Peter mindset, that vision, because that's what this city deserves. The city doesn't deserve to have an ownership group try to take out Peter's wife and treat it like a business. We deserve better than that. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I got a lot of questions. What does this mean for 2026? Because again, like I said earlier, they will tell us anything. What, I'm supposed to believe everything that they're going to tell us? I'm not going to believe everything they're going to tell us. Because they don't have to tell the truth. They'll put something out there. People will look at it before it comes out, so it sounds good. And then some people will buy it. Some people won't. But Eric Rupner's lied before. This organization's lied before. So I'm supposed to take everything that they say as the gospel when it comes to this. Nah, I'm good. Not doing that. So AJ Preller's future. Dennis Lin wrote today later this offseason, so it doesn't seem like that's happening anytime soon. And Kevin, in his article, I believe, let me find it. John Seidler and AJ Preller have continued extension talks, but have not discussed terms of a potential deal. So they haven't even talked about money. Because I guess that's what he means by terms. Money, years. So what exactly have they talked about? If they haven't discussed terms of a potential deal, what have they talked about? And I can respect AJ if this is indeed the case, where he's like, I've got stuff to do. We'll get to an extension at some point when we get to an extension. But I've got a team. I'm trying to win here, and I'm not trying to waste this offseason worrying about myself. I'm under contract for 2026. Fan base is behind me. They want me here. I love San Diego. They know I should be here, and that's that. I respect that if that's the case. But he could also be saying that because no one's going to question that because of his work ethic, but also to hide from the fact of what this situation is. Because obviously, when Craig Stammen gets introduced and Eric Rupner's talking and Preller's talking and John Seidler doesn't talk, you're telling me that Rupner and Preller didn't know about what was about to happen? John Seidler didn't know? Of course they did. There's a reason John Seidler doesn't talk. And people can say that's his personality and all that. But if everything was completely fine and you hire a manager, you're probably going to talk to the media. Give them 5 minutes. Something. But all we get is prepared statements. Who knows if he even wrote it? You know, I don't have a connection to John Seidler. We had a connection to Peter. I don't have a connection to John. I don't, remember Matt Seidler, the guy that wrote that letter and was pretty much calling Sheila a liar and all this stuff. That's what I think of the Seidler family right now. Like Peter is just totally not in that. So, yeah. I feel like Tom Seidler's probably in a little bit of a weird spot right now as well. Obviously today, social media did its thing, and there were some quotes out there that came up about what Peter Seidler said before he passed and what Rob Manfred said about the health of the Padres that don't look great. Evan Drellich, April 18th, 2023, quote, "There will never be another fire sale in San Diego, and I expect my family to own the franchise for another 50, 75 years, hopefully go for more. I'll talk from the grave," Peter Seidler said at the Sports Business Journal World Congress of Sports. Yeah, well, not going to get anywhere close to that, Peter. Your family owning this team, at least being the majority owners, the control people of this team. Not going to get close to that. And it's sad, but I hope that we're not going to look back at this and be sad. Because hopefully it is the right thing for the organization. But you just don't know. Maybe this someone comes in that doesn't have a connection. They don't have a connection to the Padres, to the city of San Diego. They don't know what it's like, what we've been through, what it's like to be a Padres fan. They don't know that. They just view it as a business, and they're just they have the pockets to run it. And maybe they were just like, nope, I want to bring in it. I'm going to fire AJ. I'm going to fire Stammen. I'm going to fire the coaching staff. I'm going to bring in my own people. And they say, let's say a few years down the road, they say, oh, this Tatis guy, I don't have an emotional connection to him. I didn't know who this guy was before I even took over this team. Or I just heard him, for commercials, but I don't have a connection to this guy. Big contract. Can't move the other guys. We'll move this one. We'll get younger. Could that happen? There are just things here that could happen. You don't want to think that way, but it could happen. But what could also happen is someone comes in that loves this team. I don't know who this guy is, or this woman or this guy. I don't know who it is, but they love this team and they're going to really follow that Peter vision, and they have deeper pockets than Peter and the family had. And maybe, and that could be a good thing. And they're like, no, AJ, you're the guy. I saw how you operated. I was a Padres fan for all those years. Like, no, go ahead. I got my trust in you. I'm not going to find a harder working guy that wants to win for this city more than you. You're running my team. Maybe that you get that guy. Names that get thrown out there, obviously, that I saw: Mark Cuban, Joe Tsai, who owns the San Diego lacrosse team. I think he has a home in La Jolla. He has multiple homes because he's that rich. But he owns the Nets. He owns the New York Liberty out there in Brooklyn. And my question there, though, is like, how committed can you be? Because I know he's really, like, that family is really committed to the New York Liberty and raising the standards for women's sports in the WNBA. I love that. It's awesome. And with the Nets owning an NBA team, like, that costs a lot. How committed can you be if you keep those teams and then you own the Padres? I probably want someone where all their eggs are in this one basket, or at least someone like Mark Cuban. Now, he doesn't have it. What connection does he have to San Diego? I don't think he does. But that name gets thrown out there, obviously, because of the passion that he has for the Mavs when he was running that team. So with that, it's different because he's not the majority owner. But I don't know what he knows about baseball. I don't know. Steve Ballmer, same thing. I don't know what he knows about baseball. Got a ton of money. And the thing is, in the NBA, having a ton of money can only get you so far because of the rules that they have and the aprons and all that crap. In baseball, sure, there's the CBT and the Steve Cohen tax, but you can spend as much money as you want. So that's where you can have the advantage there. And obviously, Kawhi with the Padres connection, San Diego State, that sort of thing. He's in Southern California. Like, I mean, if you want to convert Padres fans to being Clippers fans also, I mean, some already have. And, you know, I'm not a huge Clippers fan, but like, if I'm going to root for a team, then yeah, because of the connections and San Diego Clippers are here. Like, Balmer, if you want to help your NBA business, you come be the owner of the Padres and you spend tons of money, then I would think that there's going to be a ton of Padres fans that maybe don't have an NBA team and they would be Clipper fans, I would think. So, yeah, those are the three names that I saw floating around today. There may be some random dude that I've never heard of that could go get this team that lives in San Diego. I don't know. It could be some guy that lives in Florida or some guy that lives in Texas or some guy that lives in Hollywood. You know, shoot, it could be a Dodger fan that comes in and buys the team, but is willing to switch to be a Padre, because Dodger fans aren't the most loyal fans. They're not the most knowledgeable fans about their team. So probably could be pretty easy for some of them to switch over and then get knowledgeable about this team. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know who would take over. I was thinking about it. If this happened a couple years ago, remember A-Rod was trying to buy the Mets. Like, what if he and his group put something together and then we'd have A-Rod running our team? So like things could be bad. We'll see. Sometimes this stuff just leaves me kind of speechless. I didn't know that Grupner's contract was through 2029. Has that been publicized before? I know that obviously him getting a contract extension was publicized, how he quietly got a contract extension, but through 2029, I don't think I saw that number before. But yeah, that's what we got. That's what we got today. Rob Manfred, back in February, Jake G from CBS 8 asked him about the future of the Padres, I think, and Rob Manfred says, I think he shares, talking about John Seidler, I think he shares the kind of vision that his brother had for the Padres. And then less than a year later, he's trying to sell the team. And by the way, I quote tweeted that and put LOL. And guess who liked it? Guess who liked that tweet? Sheil Seidler. So I think it's pretty fair she's still not anywhere close to being on their side for anything. Again, going back to Peter's vision, like, you wouldn't be trying to sell the team. Or in that letter, you would be like, you would just be flat, just be honest with us. Just be honest and explain it and say, we don't have the money to give you what you guys deserve. So we're going to be a part of this organization still, but we're going to have a minority stake in it because we need someone to come in and give you the financial backing that you guys deserve. You're packing our ballpark every single night. The ticket sales, the revenue, I know we don't have a TV deal, team shop, city connectors are probably going to fly off the shelves next year. Like, you guys are committed to this organization, and we're committed too, but there's some things that some people just have more money than others, and someone out there has more money than we do that hopefully shares the same vision. We are committed. We're staying in this organization, but we need somebody else. We need help, and we're not afraid to admit that. But we're going to be open and fully honest with you, and this is how it is. But that's not what we're doing. And Eric Rutner, just a reminder, in February, I have been told multiple times that the team is not for sale. 9 months later, the team is for sale. That Grupner guy, same guy that tried to have Padres fans, hey, if you woke up, I'm not quoting him directly, but hey, if you were in a coma and You woke up after a few years and you saw the team that we had. You stop complaining as much. Like, that's essentially what he was saying. That's what this guy uttered out of his mouth. So, yeah, just not the biggest fan of him. All right, let's get to the comments here. Shout out to the great partners of the show, though. First, Gaglione Bros, famous cheesesteaks and garlic fries. Their main location is on Friars Road. Check the link in the description. Click that link for the website, the menu, the address, phone number, all that good stuff. Great cheesesteaks, cheesesteak fries, garlic fries. Inside Snapdragon Stadium, inside Petco Park. SDFC has sold out their playoff match, the semifinal, the conference semifinal, I believe, against Minnesota coming up on not this coming Monday, but the next Monday. Gaglione is on the east side of the stadium, so check them out. Breaking Tea, they've got Padres and Aztecs shirts and sweatshirts. Click the link in the description for that. And SeatGeek code Talking Friars, $20 off your first order when you sign up with your email. Not just Padres games, but concerts, other events. So please use that to your advantage, trying to help you out. Carlos with a super chat, $2 super chat. This will go to help pay down the debt. Yeah. I'll send that $2 John Seidler's way. Or I guess to the next new owner, because they're not paying down the debt. It would be the owner that's paying them to buy the team, and they'll put some money to pay off the debt. So the Seidlers will not get as much money directly to them. It will go to the debt to pay it off. Richard says failure to build on the 2022 run, letting LA off the hook in 2024. No stability at the manager position. Peter is the big loser here. It's a mess. Yeah, I wonder what Peter's thinking today. The day before his second year anniversary of his passing, they announced that they're selling the team. Good thing they did that today and not tomorrow, because that would have been it's already a bad look, but it would have been a terrible look if they would have done it tomorrow. I'm never going to forget that day and how I felt when I saw that news that he passed. And from that day, it was like, not going to be the same. Not going to be the same. And I remember that day, I was like, there's so many questions now with what happens. And there's so many questions with what's happening now. Thank you, Richard, for that super chat. All right, let's go to the other chats here. I'll spend a couple minutes here going through these comments. Puff of Joe says, hey, cheers, Ben. I just hope whoever takes the helm wants to win like Papa Pete. I feel this is so disrespectful to Papa Pete. I mean, I partly want to look at it like it's not disrespectful. They're doing it because they know they don't have the money to spend like Padres fans deserve to have their owners spend, you know? So I want to look at it that way. But also, they talk so much about Peter's vision and all that, and Peter wouldn't do something like this. They just haven't been as transparent as I would have liked them to be. Carlos says relocation is not off the table. I would say it's off the table. I'm pretty confident in saying that. They have a lease at Petco through like 2030 something, which you can get out of with money. But what market would a new owner go into that's going to have more money coming into their team with the Padres? Like, I know there's no TV deal right now, and hopefully there's progress in a few years with that. But like, in terms of the fan dedication, you're not going to get better in a new city that you go to. Portland, I was just there. Great sports town. I hope that they get a Major League Baseball team. That would be awesome. But you're not going to get better than what you have here. Nashville, you're not going to get better than what you have in San Diego. And Major League Baseball would have to look at themselves and be like, we would be stupid to allow someone to relocate the team from San Diego. If your team is top 5 in attendance year in, year out, playoffs pretty much year in, year out, superpower, like best ballpark in the league, And I know I just said I'm sick of hearing about best ballpark, but that is part of it, the lease, right? Opposing players love coming to San Diego. You have that. That's something that you don't get rid of. If you want to talk about the Chargers and how they left, that's a totally different situation. That is totally different. Like they needed a new stadium. Padres don't need a new stadium. And this city is totally all in with this Padres team. So that's just not, it is off the table. Relocation's not happening. Expand to Portland, that would be great. Love to see it. Nashville, great. They're not moving the team to another city. Carlos says Ben never prepares. I prepare like not all day, but like a majority of the day because I read everything, I see everything, I'm tweeting all the time. That is my preparation. So I'm not going to sit down and write notes about what I'm going to say because I want it to be genuine in how I feel, and I'm preparing like all the time because I love this team. Like this isn't a job. What I'm doing right now is not a job. I'm doing it because I'm passionate about it. So like, yeah, I'm not studying for a test. Let's see. Carlos says, Ben, no TV deal. Pretty simple. Even Peter was going to cut spending. Stop lying to yourself. I'm not saying he wasn't going to cut spending, but there's a difference in how he acted with how his family has acted. And yeah, the no TV deal has screwed this team over for sure. Isaac, my man, what's up? Hopefully you're doing well. Went to Helix together. LA Dodgers back to back. Let's go. Cheers to your channel. Thanks for the support. Appreciate it. Hopefully you're doing well. Yeah, we used to have some fun chats. That was back when I was campaigning for Carlos Villanueva to win Rookie of the Year. I overreacted, but that was early in the season when he was like Barry Bonds up there. Let's see. The Rockies have a better run franchise. That's funny. Nobody deserves to win. I mean, I disagree with that. If a fan base shows up year in, year out, and they spend their hard earned money and they're packing the ballpark and they're watching all the games and they've been doing that for years and the franchise has been here since 1969. I'm not saying the players deserve to win, but I'm talking about the fan base. So no, I think it's okay for us to say we deserve to not deserve to win. We deserve to have full effort from the ownership group to put a winner on the field, if that makes sense. What an offseason this has been, huh? Holy cow. It's November 13th. What else are we in store for? Jeez Louise. We got Mike Schilt resigns because he didn't just retire. He's going to work in baseball again. Resigns. You got Craig Stammen interviews candidates, and then he becomes the manager. You got the Padres are selling the team. AJ Preller, oh, he's getting an extension. Yep, he's going to get an extension. Still doesn't have one. Obviously, first round exit against the Cubs. Yu Darvish out for next season. Let's not forget that news that came down. Yeah. Awesome. So awesome. Dodgers won the World Series. Salt Lake City Padres coming soon. No, no, they're not moving. They're not moving. Someone says Mark Cuban already tried to buy the Cubs and Major League Baseball said hard pass. I don't remember that. But that is a point. That is a good, valid point to bring up. Um, whoever tries to buy you can't just buy the team. Major League Baseball has to approve it. So we'll see. I mean, the Dodgers, like, if you're the Dodgers, you'd probably just not approve any owner because the situation the Padres are in, you're like, yeah, keep going with that situation with the $300 million in debt. JD's third asked Ben, why don't you buy the Padres? I would if I had the money. The money I have would probably pay for one charter to Phoenix, or, yeah, don't have the money. If someone can Venmo me, $1 billion, that would be nice. Because I trust you. I'll tell you this. Trust me. If if I magically had that money, I would definitely be following through with the Peter vision. Because like that's what I care about is the Padres winning a championship, San Diego sports teams winning championships. That's what I care about. We'll get to the offseason moves Preller should make. There's time to talk about that. I have a feeling that that's going to take some time and we will have time to talk about that. So just wanted to get on here and react about the news of the day. A big bomb that was dropped. We shouldn't really be that surprised about it though, because based on what has happened since John took over, they view it more like a business and payroll, it just hasn't felt the same. And what, they were going to continue to do this for another decade? Probably not. We're attached to the Seidler name, but there's two sides of it. There are two Seidler sides. There's the Peter side, and then there's the other family side. And I don't want the other family side, running this thing. They just don't seem to be the ones that will really follow this. Like they can tell us Peter Vision, Peter Vision, Peter Vision, but actions do speak louder than words. Yeah, maybe Shield is on to something all along. Yeah, they painted Shield to be like this horrible human being. And it's like, come on, guys. That's not who she is. She's not a horrible human being. So they weren't tricking me. I'll say that. All right. Have a good night, everybody. Wild roller coaster off season continues. Thanks so much for the time. Much appreciated.